So the interview was done, and I really enjoyed the conversation. I think at the time I was recording by Skype. We said our goodbyes. I went to stop the recording and realized I never started it.
Dangnabbit!
Welcome to Pod Ask Us.
Isn't it Pod Access?
Can it be both?
Connecting deaf and disabled podcasters to audiences and each other.
So Cheryl, what would you say is the moral of the story?
Hit record? Hire an engineer. Oh, check if you're recording before getting into the conversation.
No. Well, yes, but no. I guess there are multiple lessons in this story. Your suggestion should definitely be a part of the process, but I'm thinking in general, we need to be familiar with the tools that we use.
For many deaf and disabled creators, talking about process means talking about tools. It was clear, Thomas, when we talked to Rebecca Vallis of the Off Kilter podcast, that our tools are vast.
I actually think that the tools and resources question is a really, really deep one, and one that is worth diving into in ways that include and center accessibility and also maybe get a little more personal than folks might expect in a question like this. I wrote down 18 bullets for this one. In part because I think my brain went to a place that maybe was broader than what you guys were intending by asking the questions.
We were thinking about hardware, software such as microphones, recording, and editing applications.
Rebecca reminded us that we use so many more kinds of tools to make a podcast.
I also really am very aware that my own well-being and creative energy and time are really core resources and tools for the show. I, as someone who lives with chronic illness, and I'm public about this on the show, how I'm doing and my well-being is actually really important to whether I can show up for the show and how I show up for the show. The other things I put on the list then include my network. That's generally the way that most of these episodes actually crop up is I'm having a conversation with someone I know and we go, oh my God, we should make this an off-kilter episode and we should bring in so-and-so. That's often really where the ideas come from. I include my lived experience on this list as well of tools and resources because it's really easy to think that when you are doing something like a podcast or a radio show that you have to leave yourself at the door and it's just part of you that's walking in. It's just the professional you. In my opinion, the best conversations are ones that we bring our whole selves to. Bringing your whole self into the conversation always makes for a better conversation, and it allows for the people who are listening to understand that you're actually a human just like them. There is nothing like producing a podcast to bring out the worst perfectionist that anyone might have inside us. I will be the first to confess that I have quietly sometimes recorded an intro 20 times before I was happy with how it sounded. That's not to say we shouldn't hold ourselves to high standards for content, but when you've got the models out there for you showing you what perfect looks like, and that is the standard that you hold yourself to, it can quickly become something that's actually really not in service of yourself or of the other people that are listening.
I get it. I used to edit out my own laughing until a listener explained that this conveys a connection between me and my guests.
Oh, yeah. Years ago, when I interviewed you for my podcast, I made an MP3 just of all your laughs from the whole conversation. I don't think I had a lot of fun doing interviews before that, even though I liked doing them. The fact that you laughed so often, Thomas, really showed me that connecting and having fun can be part of the work.
So we acknowledge there are all sorts of tools and resources that go into podcasting. But in this series of episodes, we're going to focus on specific areas.
We'll discuss hosting platforms, tools for editing, and of course, recording.
Even with all the right prep work, the best ideas and resources, creating a good podcast comes down to the recording.
The quality of the recording is important, and there's still a lot to consider, like accessibility. Host of Down to the Struts, Kutsianaki, reminds us of the importance of access.
I use Zoom to record because I find it very accessible, and it was really easy to set those up for other people because everybody was using Zoom. You know, it's the height of the pandemic and everyone was very comfortable with Zoom. It's generally accessible to people with different types of disabilities. It's very accessible with screen readers.
However you decide to record, you have to hit record.
That's true whether you're recording using a dedicated recording device in person, via Zoom, or through some other online application, or on your phone.
True if you're recording just audio or video.
Today we're talking about some of the available tools to help you record your podcast,
along with some things you'll want to consider to be sure you capture the moment.
Let's first talk about some of the things to consider before pressing the record button.
I bet some would say, but what if I just want my podcast to have that organic vibe? You know, listeners feel like they're a fly on the wall.
Even if you want the fly on the wall feeling, you can still at least consider where you want the conversation to go and come up with some questions in advance that can help guide you there.
Planning doesn't eliminate room for an organic feeling or discovery. Planning assures you get what you need from the conversation. Chances are, there will be opportunities to follow through in other directions, but at least you know how to get back on course.
One of the best things you can do to assure a good recording is to be certain you and your guests are on the same page.
Imagine you intend to talk about A, B, C, but your guest only wants to talk about X, Y, and Z.
That could feel like a waste of time for everyone.
Some people like to send questions in advance. That can help guests prepare and understand the focus of the conversation.
That's also about accessibility. Someone who uses alternative or augmentative communication devices, or AAC, can program their answers in advance and be ready to record.
For some, prepared answers lead to a stale and inorganic delivery. If prepared questions aren't an access request, I personally prefer to send a list of topics that I plan to discuss. This still gives guests a chance to prepare without feeling like a canned response. Also, I find that guests are more comfortable knowing that I edit and they can stop during the conversation and rephrase their responses.
Outside of the actual conversation, there's lots of other things to consider.
Chances are the majority of the interviews will be done remotely, so you won't experience the guest's environment.
Are there noises coming from their room? Air conditioners, fans, heaters, refrigerators, outside traffic. Maybe the acoustics are better in a different room. Is the microphone sitting on a table that might get bumped or banged, which will sound like a really unnerving thud in the recording?
Do they have a microphone, headphones? Will they use a laptop or smartphone to record? Headphones and microphones are highly suggested for an improved sound. Headphones help eliminate feedback or an echo from the speakers.
Are they hydrated? Mouth noise can be annoying. Are they wearing jewelry that can jingle on your recording? Especially if you've got jingly-jangly earrings and using earbuds, where those jingles will jangle right on the microphone. Of course, these same suggestions apply to the interviewer's environment.
Unless you have a dedicated audio engineer, you'll be responsible for the recording. Test your setup days before the interview. Be sure you listen back to a test recording to hear the quality of your sound and room environment. Test prior to the interview on the day of the recording. You can't rely on everything remaining the same. You could have a new device in your room emitting a low or high frequency hum that can be challenging and time-consuming to remove after the recording. It's much easier to identify and turn it off before recording.
Today, there are so many options for recording, from the smartphones a lot of us already use, to dedicated hardware and software that lets you record and edit on your desktop computer, laptop, or tablet.
Let's talk about the available options and the pros and cons associated with each.
Yeah, let's do that. Well, whether you use an Android or iPhone or a tablet, each one comes with apps that can easily record using the built-in microphone.
The quality of these recordings aren't quite on par with studio level, but they can be pretty good, especially with some forethought and planning.
For example, no matter what device you record with, you still have to be in the right room and eliminate background noise to get a good recording.
Listen to the sound quality and recording on an iPhone in two totally different environments.
Speech off.
A large open hallway with other sounds. Even recording in a small room with no external microphone can make a big difference.
Speech on. Stop button.
Headphones help to eliminate the feedback and help prevent the sound of your conversation partner getting recorded onto your track.
There are external microphones available along with dedicated recording apps specifically for smartphones that can really improve quality.
If your plan is to record in-person interviews on the move in different locations, and you have a budget to invest in something more than your smartphone, there's a range of recording devices available.
These dedicated recorders offer multi-track recording via one device, meaning you can record yourself and, depending on the device, sometimes up to 5 additional people at once.
Through the one device, you can plug in multiple XLR microphones to get a separate recording for each person.
The result is one track or .wav file for each person recorded. Separate tracks for each person greatly improves your ability to edit and manipulate each individual recording. The result is a much cleaner sound and flexibility.
Multi-track recording devices range from around $300 to thousands, based on the number of tracks and other bells and whistles. Some have built-in rechargeable batteries and can work on AC power, while others need external batteries.
There are devices specifically tailored to podcasting today that offer additional features such as sound banks for triggering jingles and onboard editing. Computers today offer even more access to recording both locally and remotely online.
Depending on your budget, your comfort with technology, how much space you have available, there are several options that can each improve your audio quality.
One of the simplest ways to get started with using your computer as a recording device is to purchase a USB microphone. As the name implies, the microphone simply plugs in via the computer's USB port. Using free recording software such as Audacity can enable someone to quickly get started.
USB microphones range from $30 to over $100. Like the price, audio quality ranges as well. If you're interested in improving quality and functionality even more, you might like to get a digital audio interface. Similar to the hardware recording devices, these interfaces allow you to plug in XLR microphones for greater quality. Interfaces range from one to multiple inputs, so you can record separate tracks for each guest or add instruments or auxiliary devices. Interfaces require a little setup and specific external cables.
If the majority of your podcast consists of interviews with remote guests, you're going to want to explore online recording options, such as CleanFeed, Squadcast, Zencaster, Riverside, and others. Some of these services offer audio only, but several allow you to record both in audio and video. They can even separate audio tracks from your video and make a separate audio track for each person, which you can't do with a Zoom recording. Recording locally improves fidelity by eliminating broken conversations due to poor internet connections. In general, these services offer higher quality audio and video compared to Zoom.
For podcasters with more of a working budget, a great option is finding a recording studio. Some studios have created specific recording environments for podcasts. These spaces can be quite nice, including conference-style tables and microphones set up to record multiple people on individual tracks. Some spaces are set up to record video. Either way, you get to leave the recording to an experienced engineer, freeing you to focus on the content.
However you decide to record, make sure you back up your original recordings.
A failed hard drive or editing without saving a copy of the original file first could cause you to lose content or lose all your hard work.
We'll talk more about editing in the next episode, but for now, tell us how you record. Go to podaccess.net and hit the Contact Us button.
And you can upload a voice memo or write a message.
And you might just hear it,
Read it.
or see it in a future episode of the podcast or on social media.
Tell a friend and an enemy to follow or subscribe to Pod Access wherever you get your podcasts and on Instagram at @ThePodAccess, at ThePodAccess.
Podaccess.net.
Meow.